Live from the Washington, D.C. area, it's the Inside Scoop. All the news that our viewers want to know. Now, here's the host.
Welcome to Inside Scoop. My name is Jeremy, and tonight I'll be your host. In this episode, we have three special guests tonight who are going to talk about rugby. Rugby is an international sport played in 120 countries and is one of the fastest growing audience bases today. The United States will host the Men's Rugby World Cup in 2031 and the Women's Rugby World Cup in 2033. The final list of host cities will be confirmed following the 2027 World Cup, which includes Washington, D.C., Baltimore, and Philadelphia to host the World Cup. The U.S. women's rugby team recently won the bronze medal in the 2024 Olympics. And with me now is Mr. Simon Cross, head coach of our local Major League Rugby team, Old Glory D.C. Welcome, Simon.
Jeremy, thank you for having me.
So, tell me a little bit about how you got into rugby.
I was 5 years old, playing in the UK at the time. My old man is a soldier, and he took me down to the local rugby club, and he bribed me with a curly whirly, which is a chocolate bar, and a can of cherry Coke at the age of 5 when the weather was miserable. So I kept coming back for that, and I've never looked back since. So yeah, since 5 years old, I've been playing rugby.
That's really young. Were you tackling at that age?
Crazily enough, back in those days, which is 40 odd years ago, it was full contact from the age of 5. Things have changed a lot since then. They've implemented different rules and different skill sets whereby kids as young as 5 or 6 are not tackling full contact. But in the UK, you're certainly tackling at 9 and 10 in the same way that football is now tackling at kind of ages 7, 8. So yeah, it's changed a little bit since the 80s, but it's a great sport and it's growing fast, and it's a very popular sport in the UK. And
you played professionally for a little while. Can you briefly touch on that?
I did, yeah. I left school in '99. I went straight into an academy, Wasps Academy, which is one of the oldest clubs in the world. And then from there I went to Edinburgh, played for the Scotland U20 side. I was involved in the Scotland national team as well. And I played up until about 2010, so I had a kind of a 12-year career. And then from there, I always knew that defence was always was what I was good at. I held 2 records at Edinburgh, which was one was the most amount of games without ever scoring a try, which is equivalent of a touchdown. But at the same time, I made the most tackles in a game. So I was always kind of led towards the kind of the defensive side of the ball. And then in 2010, the SRU, which is the Scottish Rugby Union, the national governing body, they used me as a guinea pig as the first kind of pro player to retire from playing, and they put me into a coach education program, and I ended up in the English Premiership for 5 years. I coached in the URC, a place called the Dragons in Wales, and then I joined Old Glory D.C 3 years ago. So we just finished my 3rd year here. And
how do you feel about coaching Old Glory? What's it been like?
It's been an unbelievable 3 years. I can't thank the community enough for having just rallied around myself and my family. My wife doesn't want to leave the country. She's fallen in love with the US as I have, and just seeing the levels of ability in young men and women coming through the DMV fills me with joy. There's so much talent for this game in this country, and I'm genuinely excited about what the future holds for rugby in the US.
So just to slow down for a minute and set the stage for folks who are not familiar with rugby, you've developed a sort of Rugby 101. And can you tell me a little bit about how that started?
So, I mean, you're going to hear later from Mayor Reid. We hosted a ladies' event in Fairfax, city of Fairfax, at one of the pubs, and pubs and rugby are going to go hand in hand. So we thought we'd hold a Rugby 101 there for the ladies of Fairfax who didn't necessarily know what was going on, but knew that they loved what they were watching, whether it was men in tight shorts or not. But it was like, hey, what actually is happening? What are the different positions? Because a bit like football, there are very relevant skill sets across the team. There are 15 men on each team, and a bit like football, you have your specialist skill sets. So we tried to break it down, and I was kind of my mum's been involved in this game now for 40 odd years and still doesn't really know what she's seeing or talking about, doesn't want to know either. So when we put this together, it was like, how can we explain rugby to ladies who have no clue? And the safari seemed to be the most obvious way to go in terms of animals that may or may not play well in a certain sport or in a certain position in the sport. So yeah, we have a Rugby Run at 101 safari guide to help you understand what it is you're watching and the positions that you might see in the Serengeti.
So we only have 7 minutes left, but maybe you could just briefly take us through those positions.
Well, rugby's a 15-man game. You have an 8-man bench with substitutes, but you also have a split between forwards and backs. And I suppose the forwards and backs may be the split between your O-line and your D-line versus your wideout. So the forwards' job is to win the ball, and that comes through winning the ball from throw-ins and line-outs. It's also their job to be physical and carry the hard yards and make those big tackles as well.
So they're the big guys.
They're the big guys.
Numbers
On the
1 through 8.
left-hand side, you can see here you've got the hippos, you've got the warthogs. Their job is to push and be really physical, and it's all about size and strength for them. In rugby, like soccer, you have throw-ins, except that you're allowed to compete for the ball in the air, so you're allowed to lift people into the air. So these guys are often jumping 10 feet into the air and supported by their teammates. Those are the giraffes. Really important. They can hold. They're tall. They've got good skill set, and they can win the skies. And then the back row are kind of more of your linebackery type players, your tight ends, where they're just tough and physical, and they've got to make lots of tackles and carry lots of balls. So the forward's job is to win the ball and be physical. The back's job is to be skillful, to kick the ball a lot, and obviously to finish and score lots of tries. So they're much more skillful. They're less sizable blokes, but they're also much more skilled in lots of respects and a lot faster.
I've noticed number 9 is a meerkat.
Yeah, they're kind of annoying. They're always having to look around. The number 10 is your quarterback. He's the kind of the fox. He's a bit sly. He's a bit sneaky. He's trying to find different ways of kind of working out where the defense is. And your wingers are going to be the speedy cheaters. Those guys. The fullback is an interesting position because he is the eagle in terms of winning the skies. His job is to catch the punts, win those collisions in the air, but he also needs to be incredibly fast and skillful in terms of scoring tries as well. So there's a huge difference between forwards and backs, and I think the safari is a kind of an easy way of explaining what it is that your daughter may or may not be dating at some point.
Or doing in some cases.
There you go, absolutely.
One of my daughters played for a little bit, and she was a scrum half, and so she was, I guess, the meerkat being annoying and yelling at people. So
low to the ground as well, because the job is to pass the ball. You're making probably 150 passes a game, but you've got to be quite low to the ground. You've got to be skillful. You've got to be quick. So it's that skill set's really important for a scrum half. Very, very important position.
And so you mentioned earlier that you did a lot of defense. So where were you on the chart there?
I was kind of the hyena, which is all about trying to steal the opposition's ball. So you're just annoying and you're a bit of a thief a little bit. So yeah, my job was to make tackles and try and create fumbles, but also steal the ball from the opposition when you have the chance.
So it'd be number 7.
Number 7, that's right, absolutely. Again, good positions. Shorter careers probably, just because of the level of physicality. The back row guys are often a bit like the centres. You're often in the mix quite a lot. You've got a lot of contacts whether you're carrying the ball or whether you're making tackles. But they're probably the shorter kind of careers, I suppose, of all of the players.
How long is a typical rugby career, not counting amateur level, but going to professional? About what age do folks go to become professional in rugby?
You're probably looking at anywhere between, if you get a 10-year career, you've done well. I think anything more than that, you're very lucky. I think in a bit like football now, you're looking at 6 to 8 years would probably be your kind of your standard, your average contract.
And is that international or here at MLR?
MLR is a bit different because the season is shorter. In the UK, you're often playing 30 games a year. The MLR at the moment's gone from 16 to 10. 12 if you make the MLR Shield final. So it's a shorter season here, but the guys will top up those games with games for the USA or games for the local clubs here as well. So I would like our guys to be playing in excess of 25 games a year, and if you can do that over the course of 10 years, then you're doing well.
I guess a little perspective for the audience too. I used to describe rugby to my friends. Well, I didn't. I stole this from one of my buddies. It's the equivalent of running a marathon where somebody hits you with a baseball bat in the stomach randomly as you're going along.
It's brutal. The thing about rugby is the misconception in the US of rugby is that it's ultra violent and ultra crazy. It's not. The levels of technique in the tackle, the levels of technique on the ball carry, it's an incredibly safe sport. Yes, we don't have helmets, yes, we don't have pads, but we also have to protect our players. So from even at the age of 5 when I started, I was taught how to tackle very quickly, right, in order to learn how to be safe, learn how to make sure the opposition was safe as well. But yeah, technique is a huge part of rugby, the respect of the referee, the respect of the opposition, but also just making sure that players are available week in, week out and not doing themselves a disservice is really important.
And it's an endurance game too, I think, more than anything else. 80 minutes is a long time to be running on the pitch.
It does. It doesn't matter whether you're a warthog or whether you're a leopard, you're still running between 7 and 8 kilometers a game. So there's a lot of endurance going on. A lot of that's at high speed as well, and you add in those contacts as well. So it's there's a lot going on. You know, but rugby is a great game because it's for all shapes and sizes, and provided you've got a level of toughness and you don't mind being out there without helmets and pads on, and you want to go make tackles and carry the ball. Everyone can touch the ball, everyone can make tackles. In theory, everyone can kick the ball, although I look pretty dimly on some of the front row boys trying to kick a ball.
I see. So I played many years ago in the 90s, and I feel like the game has changed and evolved a little bit. You mentioned kicking. That's one of the reason why I bring it up. Because most of us couldn't kick back in the day, and now I feel like everybody can kick. Everybody knows how to kick. It seems to be a skill that. What changed?
I think when people realised that kicking the ball was a good thing and not necessarily a negative piece of the game, you could kick the ball to go and get the ball back. And if you put a contestable kick up, and that's a kick that goes maybe 30 metres, you're able to go and chase that kick and then win it back in the air. If you're able to do that, you're then attacking against a defence which is unstructured or disorganised. So it gives you a much better chance of scoring tries if you can go win the ball back in the air. So creating confusion and chaos in a defensive unit is important for us. So the likes of, we're very lucky we have Duncan Hodge, one of a Scottish legend, comes out here every year to work with our kickers. That's something that we try and do just to try and promote good techniques, and teaching young Americans how to kick a ball, which is not a skill which is really focused on hard at the college level. Kicking the ball is seen as, at college level, is seen as we haven't quite what we wanted, we may as well kick the ball now, as opposed to an attacking weapon.
Well, we'll continue this conversation. Thank you so much for joining us. Please tune back in after these very important messages, and we're going to talk more about Old Glory and their move to Fairfax and the relationship that we developed there with them. Thank you.
Okay, so we drowned the fire, stirred it, drowned it again, and now just feel if it's cold.
Yeah.
Cool.
Smokey just gave me a bear hug.
I know. I already posted it.
I got a creak in my neck, limp in my step, cramping in my muscles every time I try to flex. All of the ones get on. Very exciting, all that I could do was remember you. You know I usually say no, but if you throw me love, I'll throw you some more.
It's a big responsibility.
Oh, it's huge. I know, it's huge.
And the salary.
Oh my god, yes. I
Right?
mean, like, I was about to move in with my parents, and right before, so this saved me.
I really believe in you, you know.
Thank you. It's nice to hear that from someone.
These are cool. Did you, what did you?
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
Welcome back. I'm Jeremy Wheeler. I'm here with Simon Cross to talk about rugby in Fairfax. Simon is the head coach of Old Glory D.C, our Major League Rugby team here in Fairfax. Welcome back, Simon. Well, let's go ahead and dive right in. How long have you been with Old Glory?
We have just finished my 3rd season as head coach, and Old Glory's finished its 7th season in the MLR.
And how do you feel about our move to Fairfax? I know I enjoy it. I love being able to go to games just a few minutes away, but how's it been treating you all?
I mean, we couldn't have had a better move. George Mason Stadium has been, the surface itself is the best field, pitch, or whatever you want to call it in Major League Rugby, but the surface itself it's a fast track. It's grass, which is really important. I think rugby should be played on grass. And we've had an amazing welcome from the city of Fairfax, from Fairfax itself. Like, it's just been a fantastic move for the club, and it's really brought home rugby to Northern Virginia, which is where my sons are both playing for a club here. They're 13 and 8. It's a real hub of rugby activity. I know you're going to speak to Matt Hardiman later on, who's been a driving force behind youth rugby for a long time, with Rugby Virginia and also with Alexandria. It's exactly where rugby should be being played. Professional rugby should be the end of the day for all of the young American guys and girls who are playing in the morning, and we are in the right place right now for the ability for us to grow the game.
And that's exciting. And Mayor Reed will be on next segment in order to talk a little bit more about developing that relationship, I guess, from a sort of a economic and engagement side. But as far as playing the game itself, and can you tell me a little bit more about any hometown heroes that you guys have on the team?
Well, our favourite hometown hero is Mayor Reed. She has embraced, and the city of Fairfax and Old Town Fairfax have just embraced us in the way that we never thought possible. So it's a hostile environment. The crowds are up by 46% this year. We've got tons of sponsorship, local businesses coming out to support us. So we're just really thankful for the move and for the support that we've had, not only from her and her affiliates, but also just from the local community. We've also got a few hometown heroes. We've got 7 players now in the USA wider squad, so the 55-man squad. 7 Old Glory players are now playing in there. I think John Lefebvre is probably the most famous local hero for us. He's a Dominion boy, Old Dominion boy. He plays for Nova. He's been part of the USA Sevens. He also scored one of the best tries of the season this year as well. So he's playing at scrum half. He's done a brilliant job for us this year, and he's a very recognisable local hero for us.
Is there anybody else that's Corey? I think
Corey Daniel is a wrestling kind of hero out of North Carolina, all-state champion. He's been playing rugby for 5 or 6 years. He's also been our top tackler, or the league's top tackler, twice in the last 3 years. He's probably the best back rower in the USA national team at the moment. He's incredibly physical, as you can imagine, very good tackler. But what I love about Corey, and it's kind of what he's done to his offensive game in the last 3 years has just gone through the roof. He's taken his defensive side of the ball and he's just run with it, which we knew he would, but he's also added to his offensive game and turned himself into the complete player. He's a guy that I would love to be able to push into the English Premiership or into a European league in the next couple of years, because I think he's that good.
Oh wow! Okay, that is graduating over to Europe to.
It is, but we've also got a history of pushing people into other national or international leagues. Jack Ascaro is a Gonzaga boy, played all his youth rugby in DC. He was with Old Glory for 6 years, and this year he went to Stade Francais in France. He's now playing as a loose head prop in one of the best leagues in the world. And just recently, last weekend, played against Wales for the Barbarians, which is a really prestigious international kind of invitational side that is a huge honour for us, for him, for his family, and for the likes of Gonzaga and Cal University as well. So he's a real success story, but that's what Old Glory's built on. It's young Americans coming through. We'll develop them, and if they're good enough to go and play elsewhere, that's what we'll do. We'll push them elsewhere.
So what animal would he be?
He would have been a warthog, but don't tell him that because he'll get offended. Oh no, he's a hippo because he's a big, strong. No, you're right. Sorry, he's a hippo. He's a prop, but he's just incredibly strong, incredibly powerful, pushes hard, and like I say, he's one of the USA's best players, and we're looking forward to seeing him play in the summer against a lot of the Pacific Nation teams this year. So it's, he'll do well.
Is the goal for Old Glory to sort of send these players out to play internationally and then bring that experience back home?
It would be. My hope is the likes of Jack will go and play in France, do 2, 3, 4 years over there, change his life from a rugby point of view, hopefully a financial point of view, but then come back and give back to Old Glory. That's what it's all about. That's what rugby's all about. It's go and challenge yourself elsewhere, go and play at the best level you can possibly play, and hopefully come back and develop the next group of young Americans coming through. And
you'd mentioned, you have Old Glory has a specific goal with regards to hiring Americans, or playing Americans. I guess hiring is the wrong word, but playing Americans. We're an American team. We have a lot of American players. It's very easy to bring in international players to come and play rugby and Major League Rugby. Can you tell me a little bit more about OGDC's perspective on that?
Yeah, my challenge right from the start from Paul Sheehy and Kristen Levy, our owners, was to win with Americans, to employ Americans, to bring through young Americans who were born and bred in this country and grow the game itself. So we're also supporting the Eagles. I've got a very close relationship with Scott Lawrence, who's the head coach of the Eagles team. Zach Test is the head coach of the Sevens team. We're in constant communication and we're trying to do everything we can to grow the game. We're very proud of the fact that we are one of the most American sides. Our Americans are young American-born guys who've come through the college system. We want to support the college system. We work really hard with Mary Washington and Mount St. Mary's in terms of trying to grow the coaches in that space and trying to grow the college game. We're, it's a great vision that Chris and Paul have got, and I'm more than happy to keep pounding that rock and keep working as hard as we can to grow the game in this country.
And so specifically with these young players, you'd mentioned folks coming in, wrestling background, training them up on rugby and getting their rugby IQ developed. How does that work in a season basis? Do you have like off-season camps that you run the players through, or is it just in season itself?
No, we need to work with the local clubs in the area, so we're not allowed to coach our guys outside of the season. The CBA dictates that we have them for a 5-month window during the MLR season, and after that they have to go to the national team or they go and play rugby within the D1 clubs within the area. Now, what we focus really hard on from an Old Glory point of view is the coaches club. So we have an Old Glory coaches club which is always geared to around developing coaches, coach education, and making sure that the level of coaching that those guys are getting in those D1 clubs is greater than it would have been 2 or 3 years ago. So we aren't allowed to coach our own players, but what we can do is coach the coaches that are coaching our players. So it's just all about growing the game, and coaching is a huge part of that. Refereeing is a huge part of that. The girls' game is something that we're massively passionate about growing as well. It's great to hear your daughter playing scrum half, you proper meerkat.
Oh, she, not anymore.
Not anymore, but those are the things. We've got an incredible women's group around this area. We've got Fumia Reyes has been one of our skills coaches. I think one of the only female coaches in the MLR. So we are desperate to grow the game in the area, and I implore everybody to get out there and get your girls playing rugby, because it's a really rewarding sport. And we have some incredibly physical and athletic ladies who can get out there and really tear it up, as you've seen the American ladies do in the Sevens circuit.
Oh, right. Ilona Marr has definitely brought up and elevated, women's rugby in the States, and winning bronze. That was 2024. I think that helped. That helped push everybody's attention toward it. And with World Cup happening this year, and Rugby World Cup men's will be in 2031, right? And then we have women's in 2033. How are you as a team impacted by that?
Well, I'm hoping that the spine of the Old Glory team right now, the 4 or 5 guys in the forward pack, I'm hoping will form part of that USA nationals team in 2031. I think we've got an incredible group of athletes at tight head prop, at second row, 2 or 3 in the back row, a winger. I think we've got a full back in that space too. I think we've got 5 or 6 guys who could really play a huge part of that 2031 World Cup. So that's what drives me, is like helping change guys' lives, helping put Old Glory on the map, and growing USA Rugby at the same time.
That's great. Do you Would you be able to just back up a little bit, just with regards to context? We've thrown around a lot of times and dates. When does the next season start?
So we will get the players back at probably end of January next year. So they're on an off season right now. That we've just obviously we lost in the playoffs a couple of weeks ago against Chicago, and we will have the boys back in the building at end of January, start of February. That will then run through to the end of June. 10, 12 game season depending on teams in the league or how far we get. But right now those guys are still with the USA national team, so they're going to be training for the next 2 or 3 months with the USA, the Eagles. They've got 5 or 6 games in the US. They're going to be playing Zimbabwe and Charlotte in July. They'll be heading over to the UK in November for the November series, and I think they'll get a few weeks off in December. But then come January, boys are back in town and ready to go.
Do they have to? Is it hard for them to acclimate? Hard for you to get them to sort of like, this is the strategy here. Let's go ahead and play our game versus what you were doing with the Eagles?
So the relationship with Scott Lawrence, the head coach of the Eagles, and I is a good one. We see the game in a similar way. So they aren't going from one extreme to another. They're going from 2 pretty organised, pretty defensive sides with a big focus on scrums and lineouts and defence. And again, the attack side of things isn't too dissimilar either. So no, they're going hopefully from one good coaching hub into another good one as well, and then they'll come back to us. So I'm confident they aren't going to be too confused on the way home.
Now this is probably too early to answer this question, so please feel free to punt us to your website or whatever if we have to for people to look at in the future, or maybe just watch your socials. When can folks start buying tickets for the next season? How do we watch the games? Where are they? Just sort of those logistics and those details for folks.
So thank you for asking, Jeremy. I appreciate that. So the ticket sales are already on now, so you can order or book your season ticket. OldGloryDC.com is, and all the socials. It's not my forte, but I think all the socials. OldGloryDC.com. Go and reserve your season ticket right now. But there's a lot more exciting stuff happening. We're going to be running Young Glory again, which is our academy from the start of September. We're looking forward to that. There's the Cross Tackle Academy, which is going to be launched in September as well, which is going to be teaching young boys and girls how to tackle from the age of 6 or 7, 7 and 8, all the way up to 18 and 19 college age kids getting ready for their college season. That's happening, which is going to be exciting. But like I say,
I'm sorry to interrupt. Is that the one that's with the Commanders, or is that separate?
No, so we don't do anything with the Commanders. We have a really good relationship with the Commanders. So Durante Jones, the new defensive coordinator, has been out to watch what we're doing. Same thing with Dan Quinn. We've been to Ashburn, which has been brilliant. Yeah. But yeah, we've enjoyed working together.
Well, it's been great having you on the show. We got 16 seconds left, so. Thank you so much for coming out. I appreciate you. You'll be back on again probably in August with Russell Brooks to talk more rugby. Coming up next is Mayor Catherine Reed to talk about bringing Old Glory to Fairfax and the impact. Thank you.
Nice going, Spencer. I can't believe we broke Old Man Hennessy's window.
Correction, dude. You broke. I just threw the ball.
This is really bad. What are we gonna do?
We? Go to the door and ask for the ball back.
Are you serious?
It's my ball, Myrtleback.
You're so dead. I'd run away.
Yeah, to Uruguay.
Kiss your life goodbye. Sorry.
Let's go. See ya. Remember me and your well.
Nice one. Some friends you are.
Hi. Tell him it was an accident. And we can fix the window. Come on. I'll come with you.
Loyalty. Pass it on.
You go first.
A message from the Foundation for a Better Life.
One day these rats were playing in the woods. Well, it's a matches and that's no good. Listen to smoke before you give it a try. Only you. Don't play with matches. Don't play with fire. Cause there's nothing very funny about nothing very nice on a homeless mind. So if a gorgeous force is what you desire, don't play with matches. Don't play with fire.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Fire.
Awkward. I'm the awkward silence. You try to avoid me, then there I am again.
But an awkward silence can be a great thing.
like Kelly here is about to demonstrate.
You haven't really been yourself lately. Are you okay?
Find out how you can help a friend with their mental health at seizetheawkward.org.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
Welcome back. Mayor Reed is here to discuss the partnership with Major League Rugby team Old Glory D.C. and Fairfax. So let's, ma'am.
Well, so thank you for inviting me to talk about this. Simon did a great job talking about what goes on the field, the players, the team, what people see when they come to a game. What I want to talk about is the people you don't see, and we're going to start with the team owners, Chris Dunleavy and Paul Sheehy, both of whom are DC area rugby players themselves. So when you consider that there's, I think, 6 regular teams in Major League Rugby, and one of them is owned right here in DC. This is amazing that we have a team here in DC, but it's because we have rugby players committed to the game who decided they wanted to own a team. So that's where the genesis story started of how Old Glory DC came to be in Fairfax. I also want to talk about Robin Remick, who is the general manager, and Ricky Neal Feller, who really worked with our economic development staff, Old Town Fairfax Business Association, with City Hall. It was the people behind the scenes that you don't actually see playing the game who created the opportunity to bring rugby to Fairfax. And I would love to say Fairfax City, but the fact of the matter is, you know, the George Mason Stadium sits in on a piece of ground between the city and the county. And I will go further to say that part of the success of bringing rugby, Old Glory DC, to Fairfax has been Chap Peterson, who lives in Fairfax City, longtime rugby player, and Supervisor Pat Harity, who is also a rugby player, and he is in the county. So you've got a city person, you've got a county person, but you've got rugby players who are committed to bringing Major League Rugby to the United States, but specifically to the DC area, and that includes Northern Virginia. And
how long ago did that process start?
Well, you know, I want to say I'm sure it started in this last fall. You know, I'm just the mayor, so I'm not involved in all the discussions, but our economic development team, Stephanie Gerson, who does tourism, Tara Borway, who does program management, were involved in some of the initial discussions with Robin and with Ricky. And then Old Town Fairfax Business Association got involved. That's Tina Dish and her board. You know, we're a small city. It's a pretty flat organization. We don't have a lot of hierarchy. You know, when you meet with somebody, you're meeting with a decision maker. And I think what really gave all of this a lot of lift is the downtown businesses. And Simon mentioned this, how the businesses truly embraced rugby coming to our city and to the county too. So one of the first watch parties, probably the first watch party, was Commonwealth Brewing. And that's when I sat down and Pat Harity, Supervisor Harity, came and sat down next to me and did kindergarten rugby. For those of us sitting at the table, we were like, what are we seeing? Why are all these people like look like a human crab? And so he's very enthusiastic about the game. But there were watch parties at Chubby Squirrel, Kelly's Oyster House, Patriot Bar and Grill. The Old Shebeen is the one who hosted the ladies' night. Dolce Vita, I think, hosted a team event last week. Our businesses so appreciate having a role to play, and the city appreciates the fact that Old Glory is not just a partner with the city, but they're creating a fan experience, a grassroots fan experience. And so Robin and Ricky are a really important part of working with OTFBA and our local restaurants to give people some place to go to watch the games, and I think I've been to most of them, the watch parties. And it really is about a fan experience. Building this team and the enthusiasm for this team means bringing people in and showing them why it's exciting to watch the game in person at the stadium or in a bar if they're at an away game. And that's what we want to do. We want to create that camaraderie and that sense that we are a fan of this team because this team belongs to us.
I've gone to some games myself too, and I've actually sat behind the tri-zone, you know. That is an amazing field. I did not expect George Mason, our local university, to have such an awesome pitch. And I've been told by the team, the players of other teams have been like, I love playing at you all's pitch. It's so comfortable, and it's grass, which
grass. And so I would be. I don't want to leave out George Mason University. Marvin Lewis, who is the athletic director at Mason, we were talking about the goalposts when the very first game. And he said we looked at getting some that could be like more mobile, and we decided, no, we're just going to do the ones that are a little more permanent, a little sturdier. But Marvin was there for the first game. It was a big turnout. I think the in-person turnouts have been great, and the tickets are priced so that you can bring your family and not break the bank. There are food trucks there are beer trucks there, but there's also a VIP experience, and there's tailgating. Let me just tell you, I think every consideration has been given to the fan experience. It's a good game. The players are great at what they do. And there's a culture in rugby that is different from other sports. There is just a camaraderie, not just in the individual teams, but among all of the teams. And people have remarked on that a lot, that after the game is over, the teams go out together. This is not the sort of high-level competitiveness that we see in something like, oh, I don't know, SEC football, which is like my husband's particular religion. That's not what this is. Rugby isn't that. And so I think certain sports that Americans are accustomed to watching, this is a whole different culture in this sport. And so I think everything that we have done in this first season, I hope to do more of it in the next season. And I hope people will go out and really talk about what a great way it is to spend an afternoon or evening at the George Mason Stadium, which holds 5,000 people, or if it's an away game, to be in one of our local bars or pubs to watch it with other people who are interested in the game.
Did you know about rugby before they came out?
Well, I knew what it was. I knew what it was. Did I know about rugby? I did not. And this is why it was funny. I was sitting with Tina Dish and her husband at Commonwealth Brewing, and we were just looking at the screen going, why are they doing that? And so when Pat Harity came, he sat down and he goes, I'm going to explain this to you. And then he let us ask all of our ridiculous questions, and he really explained it in a way. So now I feel pretty confident when I watch a game that I know what's going on.
Do you have any favorite players yet?
Well, I wouldn't, and it would be fair. It would not be fair to say that I have favorite players. I have a favorite coach. His name is Simon. And I will say this. I think, I've got a jersey. I wear my jersey when I go to the watch parties. We have flags in the downtown. On our lampposts, we actually have Old Glory Rugby promotional flags on our lampposts. I mean, that to me is a way of literally sticking a flag in it and saying this team belongs to the city. Although we share it with the county too, I just want to be clear on that. We do share them with Fairfax County as well. But I mean, that sense of place, that sense of identity, and the sense that they belong in our city and that the city is supporting them in every way. It's really important.
Was it difficult to have Old Glory come here, or was it?
It wasn't. It's one of those things where it's sort of like it's an opportunity we didn't know we needed. But talking about sports tourism is very different, and we don't have, like, the Commanders are not in Fairfax County, right? And the Nationals are not in Northern Virginia. And so you have a rugby team saying we're looking for a home, and we're like, well, hold on a second. This is really an opportunity for us. We're a small city in the middle of a big county, and we're literally in the center of Northern Virginia. And it was something we felt like we could do, like that we had the staff and the staff capacity, that the local businesses and the restaurants, everybody was all going to be all in supporting this. Having Monumental Sports actually broadcast the games makes a difference too. You can't watch it in a bar if it's not being broadcast. So it seems like all the pieces came into place among all of these people to make it work. And I think it was a very successful season. It may not have been the final ranking that the team wanted. I understand. Sure. Being number one would have been great. But as far as the first season in a new location with all of these new partners, I think it was enormously successful.
And as far as any future plans, are there any that you can share right now?
Well, I think what we're going to look to do is figure out how to expand it. I mean, we know what worked and what worked well. How can we dial the volume up on that? How can we get more people out to the the live games at George Mason Stadium and then back into the city, which would be nice for our businesses, but also, you know, for the away games, making sure we have and again, Robin and Ricky have done a really good job in organizing this, and I just see that there's an opportunity for more of our local businesses to get involved in hosting watch parties, which is not something our city has historically done in the past, because we haven't had really a team that was our team.
And so now we have our team, and we're just sort of setting up this rhythm to be able to start hosting watch parties. And
something else that Simon pointed out too was women in rugby. And there really has been, and I know that your next guest is going to talk about the pipeline of youth rugby, but women playing rugby. Club teams have always been a really important part of the college experiences on college campuses. Even if there's not a college team, there are club teams. And I have been hearing more and more about women's rugby teams on college campuses. I think there really is a pipeline there and an opportunity to really build a league around women's rugby.
You know, Simon had mentioned that, I'm not sure if it was on the broadcast or in the green room, but that one of his players actually coaches George Mason's rugby team.
Yes.
And so it's nice to see
those
the
connections connections being made. Absolutely. And I do think youth sports is a pipeline to college sports, to club sports. And again, you know, you talk about Chris and Paul, who own the team, when you talk about Chap and Pat, who have played well into their middle years. There's an important factor of having boomers who play rugby, because that's where the resources are. It's with the boomers, and I can say that because I am one. But I'm just saying the commitment of longtime rugby players who want to bring this sport and who want to raise up the visibility, this sets up youth rugby to have a pipeline so that people see rugby as a sport that they'll enjoy playing, that there's an opportunity for lots of different kinds of people to play. You don't necessarily have to be 7 feet tall or 265 pounds to be a rugby player. Right. And I think that having different kinds of players on the field that people can see, it's a matter of skill. It's speed, it's skill, it's strategy, it's the team's culture, it's how they work as a team. So not every sport is like that.
And is there any chance that anybody you know in your family that is going to play rugby anytime soon?
Well, I doubt it. All my children are millennials in their 30s. I think probably rugby is not in their future. But I do have a grandson who lives in Warsaw, Poland, who will be here for the whole month of August. They come every year for a month, and it'll be an interesting question to ask his dad, because soccer is certainly, or football as the rest of the world calls it, you know, World Cup. Soccer is something we know, but as far as World Cup rugby, it'll be interesting to see if the grandson in Poland ends up being interested.
I can't wait to see what happens. Thank you so much for coming on, and I appreciate you sharing how it happened. So,
well, thank you for having me, Jeremy. This is a great show. We're very excited.
Thank you all, and tune in for Matthew Hardman coming up to talk about Alexandria Rugby Football Club and the youth pipeline. Thank you.
So, I just moved in with this family, and it's embarrassing. The little one, he likes to go outside and crawl around in the giant litter box. I don't know what he's doing. I mean, I was born and I knew how to use the litter box. Look at that. That's disgusting. Oh, poop already. You're making me nervous. Oh, okay, I can't look at this anymore. I really hope he grows out of this, for his sake.
So how was work?
It was 1,300 hours. My math class from 302 was in the trenches. Davy Roth had it the worst. Fractions were coming at him left and right. He just didn't get the damn things. 2 days ago, I tried to teach him what 1/4 of 1/2 was using different sizes of blocks. Yesterday, I tried again by dividing up pizza. Both missions failed.
Oh, no.
But today, I was ready. I created a combat math game where the only way to beat the enemy is to out-fraction them. Davy conquered every last denominator. My game was so successful, the principal is deploying it to math squadrons all over the school. Anywho, how was your day?
Oh, today my boss treated the office to salad wraps.
Salad wraps.
I know.
150 over 90. 180 over 111.
160 over 110. I had a stroke.
This is what high blood pressure looks like. You might not feel its symptoms, but the results from a stroke are far from invisible or silent. If you've come off your treatment plan, get back on it, or talk with your doctor to create an exercise, diet, and medication plan that works for you. Go to loweryourhbp.org.
If I would have followed a treatment plan, I would not be in this situation.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
Welcome back. Right now we have, I'm Jeremy, your host with Inside Scoop. This is Matthew Hardiman. He is president of Alexandria Rugby Football Club, former president of Rugby Virginia, and I think you held another role there too. What was it?
Also managing director of Rugby Virginia.
Oh my gosh, is it a volunteer?
It is an all-volunteer organization, so it's definitely a lot of work, but very rewarding.
Yeah, well thank you so much. I appreciate the effort you put in there. I have a couple of kids that played rugby, coached by Matt here. And so it's you've got a great club. Thank you for coming on tonight. And if we'll go ahead and dive right in. I brought you on to sort of speak about the pipeline that we'd mentioned earlier throughout the show, all the way back with Simon Cross, talking about growing the youth, players becoming coaches, coaching coaches, etc. And for yourself, I just want to sort of talk about how do we start? Where does it begin?
Sure. So at our youngest ages, we start roughly in preschool playing tag rugby. It is as adorable as it sounds, with little kids just running around with the ball in hand and just having a blast. And that's really what all of us in Alexandria and other clubs in the Loudoun area, the Fairfax area, Richmond, Charlottesville, the Springfield area, Vienna, we all care about the kids having fun, learning the great game of rugby as young as kindergarten. I think one of the great things about the sport, especially as you get older, is everybody gets to do everything. You get to pass the ball, you get to catch the ball, you get to run with the ball, you get to play defense. I know we talked about kicking a little earlier. And everybody definitely can go ahead and kick, maybe when they shouldn't. But especially at the youth game, that's one of the great things about it is it's a sport for every shape, size, and physical ability. And as Simon's great safari map, sort of flyer showed, you really need everybody that looks like me, looks like you, looks like Simon, and looks like the mayor as well. So we really, we can start our own little rugby club with just the folks that have been on here tonight.
That's so true. That's what I love about rugby too. Is anybody can play any position at any time based upon their what they're good at and what they prefer. So that is nice. You mentioned a lot of different geographic places in Northern Virginia, and I just want to take a moment to sort of highlight that there are dozens of clubs. And so Rugby Virginia sort of had purview over everything. Are there any major tournaments that happen during the year at all?
Yep. You can check out the website, the rugbyva.com for to find your local .org to find your local club. So we have our season starts generally for the high schoolers in the January timeframe, and we play 15s till middle of May. And we also have our touch program. It's Fit Touch that starts usually around the March timeframe and finishes up in May as well, with a nice big tournament that we've held at the Culpeper Sports Complex for the most recent last couple of years. And then during the summer, we play sevens, which is a great way to try the sport in a relatively low commitment in terms of time for families, because I know we're all busy. And that starts in early June, and we're going to wrap up our tournament again in Culpeper on July 11th.
And just for the audience, sevens is 7 players per side versus 15, so half as many players, same size field.
Same size field.
And instead of 80-minute halves or 40-minute halves, we have
7-minute halves. That's right. And so just to relate, I know you talked about Alana Marr earlier. So in the Olympics, they play sevens. So just to help people sort of relate to that a little bit more directly.
Okay. And so that's awesome. Thank you. If you were to, well, first off, have you had any players go through your pipeline that have made it to Major League Rugby or played overseas?
So not yet to Major League Rugby. I don't think they're old enough yet. But we do have several kids who have started with Alexandria Rugby. Went on to play high school rugby, quite a number of them at Gonzaga. Both of my boys will be at Gonzaga playing rugby. We've had a number of them go on to some of the best colleges in the country for rugby, Cal Berkeley, and several of them have played for the under-20 U.S. national team and the under-18 national team. So, I think one of the many great things about rugby is there is a pathway to performing at a very high level. I know, as Simon talked about, with some local heroes, in particular Jack Ascaro has really done it. Ben Seema is also another one who's played professionally and internationally. And so I think, just as I know, for the competitive folks out there, there are ways to take rugby to a very high level. And, and we're talking about America's 250th, anniversary here. And what better way to sort of show pride in your country by playing for your national team? And so, rugby in the U.S. is definitely a growing game. Not as competitive as the NFL or Major League Soccer or Major League Baseball. So, if you want that opportunity, I think rugby provides that is a great opportunity to compete at the highest levels.
Yet, right?
Right. We're working on it. We're working on it.
So you played rugby yourself?
I did.
Okay. Did you play football as well?
I did not.
Oh, okay.
I actually was in marching band.
All right. Fair enough.
And then I played in college for a couple of years and got introduced to it from a roommate, and also several of my cousins played. One actually started the women's rugby team at Penn State.
Okay. And was it just something you said, hey, you guys want to try this out? Or how hard was it to get your sons to play rugby?
Yeah, so they were young. They were still in preschool, so they didn't have a lot of ability to choose things on their own. But they tried, and this is something I think that we really value in the rugby community and in Alexandria as well, is to be a multi-sport athlete. So my boys tried lacrosse and soccer and baseball, basketball, track and field. They've done all those things and they've continued to do those. But they both really enjoy rugby. My older son has aspirations to play for the Naval Academy, and my younger son, made his decision about where he's going to go for high school to play rugby. So, right. That's great to see, and I'm really proud of them. But I think they've also really benefited from that multi-sport aspect to make sure that they're growing up and learning all these different skills and coordinations that are important to do well.
I can't disagree. I have to double down on that. When I first started playing, so I played football and I did wrestling and I played soccer in high school, and then in college wrestling, and then some friends of mine, roommates, were like, hey, try this rugby thing out, and I fell in love and I didn't look back. One of the things that I had a bit of a challenge with was I always compared rugby to football without pads. Mm-hmm. And then when I got to California, I started playing on this all-service team for the military, and the scrum half there was like, hey, look, it's not football without pads, it's basketball with tackling.
Yeah, I never really thought about it that way, but I think you bring up a great point, and I know something that's might be a little bit cause a lot of hesitancy with parents, especially at the younger ages. And as a parent of two, I was always very cautious about when to introduce kids with tackling. Mm-hmm. But as Simon was talking about, and he's been a great partner and advocate in helping our community spread the word, and also how to coach coaches. Rugby tackling and the nature of the game really does not reward the kind of really intense, violent hits that you often see in the NFL, and are appropriately part of that. I'm not disparaging the NFL or the tackling, but the nature of the game is different. We don't play with pads, and so what you do with your body, and that's why it's really important to do so safely. And there's laws about tackle height and the ways that you need to tackle that really promote safety, and also especially at the youth game. The kids are generally pretty small, so they're not able to generate the force that can really cause or increase the risks of injury.
Right.
So both with the coaches, all coaches have to be trained and certified in how to safely coach the game. So it's not just you can walk off the street and coach. There's a
Safe
whole
sport,
process.
things
Safe
like that.
sport. So all aspects of it.
Concussion protocols, all those things.
Exactly, and the technical aspects of coaching. And of course, you've got Simon to come out and help the coaches as well. So we're really obsessed with safety because we know there's that stigma with rugby, but it really is, for a contact sport, pretty safe. And of course, if you're not ready for it, we have a non-tackle version of the game as well.
And that's Rugby Fit Touch.
Yes, and so that goes from preschool to under 14s.
Okay. At that age, what happens after 14?
So after 14, so there are some local adult leagues, and once you're over 14, you're in high school. I know there's a group of adults that get together at George Washington Middle School in Alexandria, and they get out and they get a run in playing fit. There's a couple of local DC Fit Touch teams. And I think boys and girls, and that can be a co-ed. It's a co-ed game, which is great. Can get out and do that. But also, I think if over the years that I've been part of the program, we've expanded the age group for Fit Touch, recognizing that not everybody's ready to do tackle. And so we wanted to provide that opportunity for them. And if there's greater interest in high school, we're ready to support that.
Right. Similar to the growth of flag football, starting to crop up a little bit, I think, around there. And
I will say we get a lot of crossover athletes, and we love crossover athletes. I will say, when we do get them, hands down, they all say they love rugby. So, don't be afraid of trying it. Come out, give us a shot. We're here to help. If you have questions, reach out to me or reach out to Rugby Virginia, and we're eager to share information about the sport and where you can play.
And rugbyva.org is Rugby Virginia. And what's Alexandria's club?
AlexandriaRugby.com.
Okay. And the age groups for your youth club, I won't say it's for everyone in the area, but it's probably similar. How does that? You say you're starting at preschool?
Yes, we start at preschool for touch, and we go in 2-year age bands. So we have under 6s, so under the age of 6, under the age of 8, under the age of 10, and our upper group is we combine our under 12s and under 14s. And then for tackle, we start at under 12. Okay. And then we have 12, 14, 16, and 18. So your 18-year-olds are generally like juniors and seniors in high school, and your under 16s are freshmen and sophomores generally.
What's the time commitment for
so for my club, we practice 2 days a week for about an hour and a half, and then we have games on Saturday throughout Northern Virginia and in Richmond. We were just in Richmond this past Saturday. They were great hosts down there. It's usually about 6 games a season.
Okay.
So it's not a big time commitment, but just enough to have a lot of fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, that wraps it up, and thank you so much for tuning in. We'll have another rugby episode coming shortly. Thank you, Matt.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I appreciate you coming on. Yeah, no, this is awesome. Anything